And Unatana Tokef, and those of you who don't know that by name, many of you will know it also just when we get there, who will live and who will die. Is really reflection, obviously, as those words indicate, a reflection on our own mortality and the short-lived nature of life in general, but it's also a meditation on change and on the unending nature, or the unending change that is the nature of our realities. And so part of it is that question of we don't know what we have, any of us, for the future, and part of it is how do we consciously open to that, and open to change, and open to being shaped by life, and open to experiences that influence us, and receptive in that way. And so with that, invite Rebecca up to offer her words, her offering.
As a Portland Jewish girl in the 1970s, I put quarters in the blue and white Jewish National Fund tzedakah box on our kitchen counter, sang Israel's national anthem, and waved the Israeli flag for Yom HaAtzmaut. I also experienced anti-Semitism at school and inadvertently walked into a terrifying Holocaust movie being shown at the JCC. For me, growing up Jewish was often confusing, scary, and lonely. Simultaneously, I was absorbing images of a safe homeland far away, Israel. At 13, I had my bat mitzvah in Jerusalem during a family trip. It was memorable, but didn't make a dent in the deep ambivalence I felt about my Jewishness. Shortly thereafter, I decided that being Jewish was just too hard, so I divorced myself from it and religiously embraced sports. After college, I realized that I needed to confront my submerged Jewish identity, so I traveled to Israel to participate in a young adult program. I loved those 7 months. Living in the Negev desert, the delicious schnitzel and falafel bars, the old city of Jerusalem, Tel Aviv's nightclubs, Hebrew spoken everywhere, racially diverse Jewish faces, ancient synagogues, national Shabbat observance, kibbutzim, and on and on. I learned about the miraculous survival of our Jewish ancestors who bravely returned to our promised land, then repeatedly defended it from attacking Palestinians and Arab nations. That short time period changed my life, transforming my considerable discomfort into a sense of pride as a member of the Jewish people. During that same time period in Israel, I witnessed the aftermath of a bus bombing, checkpoints and settlements, and first heard the term Nakba. I began to sense the presence of an unspoken injustice in this cherished place, but in a sea of one-sided information and my delight in Israel, I mostly disregarded it. For the next 30 years, I remained enamored with Israel, regularly dreamt about returning, and fully identified as a Zionist. I recognized the plight of Palestinians from a distance, and thus moderately supported their cause. Through this passionate, nostalgic, and historically traumatized myopic lens, I just wasn't able to see the Palestinian people. Enter October 7th. That day awakened me like an immense shofar blast. I began a search for the most compassionate, just, and least trauma-driven perspective I could embrace. In that effort, I've conversed with my leftist and anti-Zionist family members, listened to a conservative friend whose best Israeli family friends were kidnapped and murdered on October 7th, spoken up about curriculum released from my teachers' union, attended protests, and read multiple books. Almost every day over the last year, I've wept, read, listened, written, and thought about Israel and Palestine. All this work has resulted in a profound shift in my perspective. I now see some of the fundamental pieces that I previously couldn't bear to consider. Now, I see the European trauma and desperation that drove our people to dispossess, expel, and brutally oppress the Palestinian people, and the re-traumatizing horror of October 7th that compels large numbers of Israelis to support their government's ferocious response. Now, I see the profound harshness of this occupation that presses many Palestinians into resisting and fighting and resisting some more in service of their freedom. Over many decades, Palestinians have shown themselves to be a strong and resilient people who refuse to consent to their conditions. Beautiful Jewish life has blossomed in our ancestral homeland, but at a tremendous cost to Palestinians and Israeli Jews. In this arrangement, Israeli Jews must live by the sword, be vigilant about their survival, and continually anticipate and respond to attacks. Plus, much of the world now vilifies Israel, condemning it at every turn. It's now crystal clear to me that Israeli Jews will never truly be free and safe until Palestinians are also safe and free. There must be another way. As this yahrzeit, or year memorial, brings expanded suffering and inhumanity, this reckoning I've embarked on is even more necessary in preserving my own integrity and humanity. L'shana yoter tova, to a better year.
Amen. Thank you, Rebecca.